Love, power, and sound minds. That's what I want to focus on today. And I'm inspired by the text from Christian scripture, 2 Timothy chapter 1, where Apostle Paul, who is a complex character, says, God has not given us a spirit of fear or a spirit that makes us timid, but gives us power, love, and sound mind. I love that passage, especially for the times in which we live, where fear is the currency being used every day by some. And I am able to see in contrast that when we operate in love, there's a power that comes with it, and there's a soundness of mind that comes when we operate guided by love. I was looking at some clips of some rallies and the like by one who is the broker of fear. And I had this aha. There's this constant question, why are so many people consistently following after the messages of fear and seemingly that individual, that broker of fear, can do no wrong. And so I was just watching some things, and this aha came to me. Stockholm syndrome. Some of you might know the story from the 1970s in Stockholm, Sweden, when there were some bank robbers who held captive bank employees for 6 days. Now, most of us don't think of a bank robbery lasting or going into an extended period of hostage taking. And what emerged from that was that some of the bank employees testified on behalf of the bank robbers when they were in court. And some of them even raised money for the legal defense of those who had held them captive. Now, to this day, now again, that happened in the 1973s. What is that, 50-ish years ago? To this day, psychologists are not able to say with certainty why some individuals are more likely to be seduced, if you will, by Stockholm syndrome as their coping mechanism. Why some do and some of us don't. And here I underscore that as a coping mechanism. So what is it that people are coping with? People are coping with this absolute desire that runs in all of us to feel safe. Now, with Stockholm syndrome, whether it is a captor, hostage taker, or some other abuser, for some of us, it can feel, or at least give us a sense of safety when we align ourselves and even sympathize with those who are abusing us or have us held captive. I thought of this also in terms of how the 2016 presidential election went, when overwhelmingly white women did not vote for Hillary Clinton, but instead voted for Donald Trump. And so I was thinking about that also in terms of Stockholm syndrome. If you are someone, whatever circumstances of your life, if you believe that the best way to feel safe is to align yourself with the one who demeans you, the one who doesn't care about you, the one who holds you hostage or captive or abusive, et cetera, if you feel the best way to feel safe is to align with them, that's what you're going to do. And I was really thinking, as a Black woman, I'm always thinking about the differences in how white women often are more likely to defer to white men, much more likely than Black women are. Now, some would say, oh, because Black women are just mean and evil. That's the spin someone would want to have. But I believe because Black women whose ancestors came through slavery and experienced the separation of family, and the women had to really dig deeply within themselves to define their own sense of safety, not in reliance upon their man. It has continued to this day. There's something in the DNA. And the psychologists who have been studying Stockholm Syndrome for these past 50 years have said that the kind of bonding that happens, they only theorize, because again, they don't have anything definitive to explain why some of us are more likely to align with captors and abusers and others of us not. But psychologists suggest two things. One, that it's in our emotional DNA, passed to us from our ancestors, however they learned their own coping mechanisms, that it gets wired in us genetically. And so that's one theory. And the other theory is that those who might have a heart of compassion, if they learned something about the abuser or the captor, their heart of compassion might really be captivated in moments when the abuser shows any kindness toward them. So there's this compassion that aligns with any show of kindness from the abuser. And you might have your own theories about Stockholm Syndrome, or you might have your own theories about why people in this era would hear again and again, I don't need your vote. Why people would hear again and again, I'm really only interested in looking after the richest among us, and would hear again and again that the enemy is within. And we know even that there are some people who are Black and brown and who hear again and again, we want to get those vermin out of our country. And that is very much Hitlerian language. I mean, so much of what is being spoken now were exactly the things that Hitler and others who have been dictators and despots across cultures and across centuries, same language. So I'm raising this because I want to invite you, invite all of us, to be honest about, where do you place your sense of safety? Do you place your sense of safety in someone who says, I'm your protector? Do you place your sense of safety in the God of your understanding? Do you place your sense of safety only within yourself, within your family, your community? Each of us has some definitive places where we anchor our sense of safety. And that is, very low. I think it's the number two. I haven't looked at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but there's five of them. I think that's, after physiological needs, I think safety is the next one. But being clear about where you anchor your safety, and being able to look at others who you might think are a little wacko. People are scared. and trying to feel safe in the ways, whatever their coping mechanisms, how that might direct them. And so I invite us to keep praying for folks because there is this spirit of fear that has enveloped so many in our nation and our world. And as we have 90 plus million people around the world who are displaced, there are escalations of territorialism and tribalism happening in nations across the world because they say too many of those other people have come into our nation. No regard for the kinds of life circumstances that drove people to leave their beloved homelands. When we anchor our sense of safety in God, however we might understand God, then we have love, power, and sound mind. And if ever there were a time we have needed that, I believe right now we needed something serious, something serious. So that's all I want to say today. And I invite your prayers and your thoughts. How are you anchoring your safety so that you might experience not fear? It's going to come, but in terms of how you guide your life to be guided by love, power, and sound mind. Blessings to you.